Daniel Dubois versus Filip Hrgovic, 12 rounds in the heavyweight division. An interesting matchup. Let's get into it. Let's start with Daniel Dubois. 20 wins, 2 losses, 19 wins by way of knockout. We've covered Dubois a few times on the channel already, so you know my thoughts on Dubois. I've always said physically, he has all the makings of a prototypical heavyweight, right? That I'm sure every trainer would want to have physically, right? Dubois is a big heavyweight, man. I mean, at 6'5", he's just solid through and through, right? He's got good hand speed. He can punch, put together good combinations. He's technically sound. He moves well on his feet as well, too. So you can see the skill and the talent of Daniel Dubois. It's never really the physical for me with Daniel Dubois, man. It's more the mentality and the mindset and the mental strength of Daniel Dubois. When he fought Alexander Usyk, man, I feel like, when he fought Usyk, I thought he was actually fighting a pretty good fight. And then, there's always that controversial low blow or body shot, however you saw it. But, you could make a case that, if he would have, if that body shot would have counted, Dubois would have had all 3 belts. Would have been a much different story, right? But I also thought once Usyk got back up, recovered, and settled back into his groove, found his rage again, he landed cleaner shots. And Dubois ultimately, right, that straight left, that straight jab, Dubois didn't get up from when it connected. It looked like he could have gotten up from it, but I wasn't the one that was getting hit with that shot. So, maybe it hurt more than we thought, the more that we can see, but he didn't get up from it. Now, in his most recent fight, when he fought Jarrell Miller, I wasn't sure how that one was going to play out for Dubois. Now, do I think Dubois is the more complete fighter than Miller? Yeah, I do. But Dubois, I feel like, if you pressure him enough and hit him enough, and if he hits you and you don't get discouraged or you don't drop, I think you can mentally break him and discourage him, and he will not fight his fight. If you can back him up and get him thinking in the ring rather than being physical and acting and punching and doing what, heavyweights do best, and that's be strong, be physical, and punch. If you can back him up, man, he becomes vulnerable, right? Miller is a big body. He's physical, right? He isn't going to lie down. He came into that fight over 300 pounds. So his plan was probably, man, I'm going to pressure this guy. I'm going to tire him out. I'm going to use physical strength. And when he's tired, I'm just going to break him down, right? But that wasn't the case on the night, man. Dubois, Miller did catch Dubois with some good, clean, flush shots of his own. And Dubois actually took those shots really well, and even though Miller kept bringing the pressure every single round, Dubois was moving around the ring more times than I've really ever seen him move inside of the ring, but he was doing good work. Moving and going to the jab, moving and hitting combinations out of movement. He actually looked good to me in the whole spectrum of it. Miller looked tired, as we expected. You can't carry 300 plus pounds and not get tired at some point throughout this fight. But the more that he got tired, that's when Dubois seemed like things started to really click for him. And the shots that he was missing on early started to connect more and more and more. And even though Miller looked tired, he was still punching. He was still trying to land his shots, man. Dubois landed some really nice uppercuts, some really nice straight hands. And there were times in that fight where Dubois kind of had to weather the storm a little bit. Dubois' jab was solid on the night. His straight hand was solid on the night. He did a great job also of mixing up his attacks and not just being predictable, especially in the later rounds of that fight. The shots started to connect more and more the more tired that Miller got, man. And he got slower and Miller got slower, and his defense started to drop and drop and drop, and everything came crashing down for him. But Miller was digging deep, right? But Dubois fought a much more composed fight, and he ended up getting the stoppage win with like 10 seconds left to go. That was a win to me, man, that I felt like is going to give Dubois a certain level of confidence that he needs to believe that he can win this fight, right? He had to bite down, and he got it done. Dubois landed, if I remember correctly, that might have been the most punches that he's landed in a fight to this point in his career. And when you can land that consistently, like that's a level of confidence that will help you moving forward, man. But at the same time, Miller was it was a sitting duck in there, man. He was talking heavy, and Dubois never let that get to his head, right? He never let the intimidation tactics of what Miller was doing, and he stayed sharp up here, and he dominated the fight, man. He took advantage of a man who came in heavier and just wasn't as skilled and as complete as Dubois did, but a win is a win. He did what he needed to do in order to win that fight, but Hrgovic is a different fighter, man, so we'll see the game plan Dubois and his team has and how he handles the full package of El Animal, Filip Hrgovic. Now, let's talk about his opponent, Filip Hrgovic. 17 wins, no losses, 14 wins by way of knockout, the 2016 Olympic bronze medalist. Joe Joyce was also the silver medalist at those games, which is interesting. But Hrgovic's name has been mentioned with Anthony Joshua a few times over the years. So there's a lot at stake here for Hrgovic, man. There's a lot at stake here for him. A win puts him in a possible opportunity to fight Anthony Joshua. Now, I'm not sure if Usyk is going to vacate the belt. He might have to. If he does vacate the belt before this fight, then it becomes a championship fight, right? But I haven't heard anything when I'm making this video, so I'm assuming he hasn't relinquished it yet. So Hrgovic's biggest win is coming from when he fought Zhilei Zhang. That was a close, hard-fought fight by both men. He got the unanimous decision victory, but I don't think it was a UD, man. I thought Zhang actually won that fight. If you would have said Hrgovic by split decision, okay, cool. But I felt like it wasn't a unanimous decision victory. Again, I thought Zhang edged it. Zhang is a big body himself, and he's a southpaw, so Hrgovic had to find a way how to deal with that and make adjustments, and he took Zhang's punches pretty decently. Both men, when the fight ended, man, both men returned to their corner and were hunched over the ring, trying to catch their breath, man. That was a grueling heavyweight fight. After that fight, he fought Dempsey McKean. Hrgovic thought he fought a pretty solid, sound, technical fight. It was a much better fight against a southpaw again. And some of the shots that Zhang was having success with and catching Hrgovic with, McKean wasn't able to repeat that same success. It seemed like Hrgovic was able to handle that stance a little bit better and find the right timing. And he just did a better job of keeping the left hand in check on the night. He protected himself better defensively as well, too. McKean was also holding a whole lot in that fight. He didn't fully seem like he wanted to engage too much once he felt the power of Hrgovic, man. He could see that he wanted to survive. He wanted to finish on his feet. Hrgovic, though, man, I thought he did a great job of finding a way how to loop his shots in order to have success. He did a better job of being aware of what was coming back at him, and his head movement was better as well, too. So good performance from Hrgovic. However, Hrgovic at times did look like he was slowing down in certain parts and rounds of that fight. There were rounds he'd looked exhausted, but then he would come back and he would perform much better. So maybe he was fighting in spurts because he was able to get the stoppage win in the 12th round and he was able to close out the show. So, maybe he's playing possum a little bit, right? In his most recent fight, he fought Mark Demori, in a fight that was over shortly after it started, and that's what you're supposed to do when you're fighting opponents that aren't as at the same skill level as you are. You don't go into those fights trying to play around. You get in and get out as quickly as you can because, there's bigger fights ahead. And Hrgovic hit Demori with some shots that made him seem confused. You know what I'm saying? He just came in, took care of business, man, and he got the win. So Hrgovic is going to be looking to make a statement against Daniel Dubois, a top guy in the division. So who wins? Really interested to see what the game plan is here for both men, man. Hrgovic has that, that Olympic amateur pedigree. He can box, he's crafty, and he's got good power. I think he gained experience from fighting Zhang. Dubois is coming off the more grueling, tougher fight in Guy's recent performance. He was coming into that fight and he was winning that fight for the most part, but there were times where Dubois had to dig deep a little bit, man. Hrgovic isn't the pressure fighter that Jarrell Miller is, right? Hrgovic will fight in spots. In this fight, man, Dubois is probably the guy that needs to bring the pressure and try and control the pace of the fight. A slower pace fight, I feel like, works towards the advantage of Hrgovic. A more physical fight, inside close range fight, I feel like would work towards Daniel Dubois in his favor. So I just wonder what the game plan is here for both guys. I think Hrgovic is a little bit more accurate than Dubois, moves his body and his head off the line a little bit better, and I think he'll be able to hold his technique better than Dubois as the fight goes on. If Dubois comes in and lets his hands go, man, I think that will be the best way how he can win this fight. He's got to take that risk and not be afraid and not be intimidated, especially if he does get hit cleanly. If Dubois can use his power and size to his strength, he'll have a great shot to win this fight. He's got knockout type of power, so he can change things just like that with one shot. Now, with all that being said, man, I just think Hrgovic is going to be a little bit sharper on the night with his shots. I think he's going to play it safer if he needs to. And I think that, that amateur boxing pedigree will work in his favor. So it's going to be interesting, man. The both times that Daniel Dubois has lost fights, they've both been by way of stoppage. So I'm going to take Filip Hrgovic to win this fight by stoppage. But I expect Daniel Dubois to come out early and do very well early, using his athleticism and strength and power to his advantage. But I like Filip Hrgovic to win this fight by late stoppage. So those are my thoughts. I would love to hear from you. How do you have this one going? Who do you think wins? Let me know in the comment section below. Shout out to all the members holding down the membership section. I don't always get to do all of the suggested videos you guys suggest in the comment section below. But if you become a member, those suggested videos rise to the top, and I will do my best to get those done for you that week. Or if you'd like to become a member just to show love and to support the channel, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated as well. So with all that being said, man, if you've been watching the video this long, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next time.